Welcome to the first episode of the podcast, The Life of a Random Teen. I'm going to be posting this on Spotify and on YouTube, so you can see my face if you really want to, or not. Okay, for this first episode, I wanted to talk about something that I've been working on. I'm super excited about it. I'm honestly not that far, but I have a lot of hobbies that I like to do, and this is something that I think would be a fun start to the podcast. So I am writing a book. I'm super excited to write a book. If you couldn't tell. Yeah. It's Project True Flower. And I have this very large little book that I made full of worksheets for character development and plot and all the things I might need to start my book. It basically, let me see if I can find the synopsis. I don't really have a synopsis, but that's okay. It's basically a fantasy duology that I want to write, and everyone in this world has the ability to create nature in some way. There's 3 categories. So there's the Furmos, the Gymnos, and the Angios. The Furmos can create moss and ferns. The Gymnos can create things whose seeds are conifers, so like pine trees. And the Angios can create flowering plants, but not flowers. So basically strawberries are included. They can create apple trees. They cannot create tulips and roses. That is for a select few. It's a gift that's passed down through generations, and it's basically this gift and blessing of the true flower. And the people that have these abilities can create magical flowers. I feel like it's an interesting idea. Like, I don't think that this idea is very common. And basically all of the nature in the world is created by people in this world. So this story follows 2 characters. Gloria Bloodroot, who's, I would say, more of a main character than the other main character. But she lived with her mother until the age of 10. Her mother had this ability and decided not to bless her and gift her with it. And so she's very salty about that, obviously. And it also follows Florian Tamarisk, and they are besties. So I started writing this book before realizing that I just really needed to sit down and write the plot. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I wanted to share a few quotes from what I did write in my document. So for context, this first quote is just after Gloria has this mental breakdown in front of Florian, and Florian comes over and kind of comforts her. And Gloria is thinking this. The quote says, "I just needed to relish in the moment of being cared for. That is all that matters. Until I get my act together in a few minutes." I feel like this definitely shows both of her personalities, because around Florian she is a lot more vulnerable. The next quote is by Florian, and this is after he leaves Gloria, kind of in this vulnerable state, because he knows that's what's best for her, because they have been friends since they were 10. And the quote reads, "My feet led me home. They trampled on leaves, branches, and old ferns. I grazed my hands on the trunks of old ancient oak trees, creating moss from my hands to give new life to the forest. I placed my hands into the soil of the forest floor, ferns the colors of my eyes growing from the invisible seeds in my hands. I plucked the fern from the soil and swung it around in my fingers. I made another and plucked that one too. Being careful with my fingers, I tore the first leaf from the base of both ferns, making sure to not rip the stem. I placed them in my pocket, saving them for later." I think this also kind of shows Florian's character. He's kind of more, I don't want to say he's more positive about things. He is when he's not with Gloria. And I guess with her too, because he doesn't want to show that he kind of is an emotional wreck too around her. Because he's know how hard her life was as a child. And I think this quote, I just love it because it just sounds really poetic, and it kind of introduces the magic into this world a little more. Okay. The last quote follows Loria again, right after Florian's scene, actually. This is basically after she's done having her little meltdown. After I composed myself, I finally noticed the sound of silence and birds filling my ears. The breathing of plants around me, their makers echoing through their green. I can almost hear what they say. It calms me. The blues of the sky turn into purples. I finally stand, static filling my legs, telling me I stayed in the crouched position way too long. I could feel the salty tears dried on my skin. I don't remember the last time I cried. I felt so vulnerable around Florian. We've known each other for so long, we knew each other's deepest secrets. Our worlds intertwined like vines. Again, I think it's kind of poetic in a way, and I think it also introduces the magic a little more because I'm trying to drop hints in the magic and not just say it all at once. But yeah, I don't want this video to be super long, so I'm going to end it here. Hopefully I can make more videos about my book and other things, videos and podcast related things to my book, and hopefully some other things too. So stay tuned for episode 2 of the Life of a Random Teen podcast. Signing out.